Friday evenings in Chicago are often filled with the sound of city life, horns blaring, laughter spilling from crowded restaurants, the hum of possibility in the air. For Emily Parker, this night was meant to be a celebration, a bright milestone after years of striving. She'd just been promoted to senior manager at her firm, a title that had cost her countless late nights, missed birthdays, and dreams deferred. As she approached her apartment, the keys cool in her hand, she imagined the quiet solace of home, a place to finally exhale. But the moment she opened the front door, Emily was met not with silence, but with the gentle melody of jazz drifting from the dining room. The lights were dimmed, the air softly perfumed with the glow of candles dancing in glass holders. And there, in the warm, golden haze, stood Ryan, her husband. His apron was comically oversized, his hair a little mussed from leaning over the stove. In his eyes, a flicker of anticipation and hope. "Surprise!" he called out, trying to mask his nerves with a practiced smile. "I wanted to celebrate your big promotion. Dinner's almost ready." For a moment, the scene glimmered with possibility. The table was set with their best plates, napkins folded with care, wine glasses catching the candlelight. To anyone else, it might have seemed perfect, a husband honoring his wife's achievement with a romantic dinner. But as Emily stepped inside, the aroma from the kitchen wrapped around her, thick and inescapable. It was Ryan's special chicken dish, the same one he had made for her countless times before. But now, the scent was a knife twisting in her gut. Because months earlier, Emily had glimpsed a message on Ryan's phone, a message from another woman. "Can't wait for your chicken tonight," it had read, casual and intimate. Since then, every whiff of that dish brought her not comfort, but a painful reminder of the trust that had shattered quietly, almost invisibly, between them. Emily forced herself to smile, feeling the weight of expectation pressing down. "I'm exhausted from work," she managed, her voice thin. "I'll just head upstairs to rest." Ryan's face fell, confusion and disappointment flickering across his features. "But I made all this for you." "I know," she replied softly, already turning away. "Thank you." As she walked up the stairs, the mask she'd worn for months began to slip. Her chest ached with the effort of holding herself together. In the sanctuary of the dim bedroom, Emily stood for a moment, letting the silence settle. She could still hear the faint strains of music, the clink of cutlery as Ryan fussed in the kitchen below. She walked to the bed, knelt down, and pulled out a suitcase she hadn't touched in years. With slow, deliberate motions, she opened it, the zipper's teeth parting with a sound that seemed impossibly loud. She began to pack. Folded shirts, carefully chosen dresses, the soft sweater her mother had knitted for her last winter. Each garment laid inside with care, as if she were packing away her old life piece by piece. The sound of fabric rustling seemed to fill the room, louder than the music, louder than her heartbeat. She paused by the dresser, her hand trembling as she reached for a framed photograph. It was their wedding day. She and Ryan, faces aglow with hope and the promise of forever, standing beneath a sky lit by the last rays of sunset. She traced her thumb over their smiles, remembering the vows they'd whispered words about trust, about always choosing each other. A single tear escaped, tracing a silent path down her cheek. "Enough is enough," she whispered to the empty room, her voice barely more than a breath. Midnight pressed in. The apartment hushed now, the jazz music long faded. Downstairs, Ryan moved quietly, cleaning up the dinner that had gone untouched. Emily zipped her suitcase, the sound slicing through the stillness. She slipped on her shoes, her heels clicking softly against the wood floor as she descended the stairs. Ryan's back was to her, his hands submerged in soapy water at the sink. He turned, startled by the sound, his eyes widening as he took in the suitcase. "Emily, what are you doing?" She met his gaze, her own steady and unwavering. In that moment, she felt a clarity she hadn't known in years. "I smelled that dish tonight, Ryan," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "And I remembered who you used to cook it for. Do you really think I could sit at that table and pretend everything was fine?" Congratulations, you've celebrated my promotion by reminding me of my betrayal. I'm leaving. For a moment, Ryan looked as if he might protest. His lips parted, searching for words, but none came. Only silence, thick and heavy, settled between them. Emily walked to the door, her hand pausing on the handle. The candles on the table flickered, their light casting long shadows across the walls. She stepped out into the hallway, closing the door behind her with a soft but final click. The night air was cool on her skin as she walked down the empty street, her suitcase rolling quietly behind her. The city lights stretched before her, offering a new kind of promise, one not built on broken trust, but on the hope of freedom. Inside the apartment, the candles burned low, their flames shrinking until there was nothing left but curling wisps of smoke. The remnants of the dinner sat cold and uneaten on the table. Ryan stood in the kitchen, staring at the closed door, the weight of his choices pressing in on him from every side. The next morning brought chaos phone calls from family members, whispers of confusion and concern. Ryan's carefully constructed world unraveled, the truth seeping out like water through cracked glass. The betrayal he had tried to hide could no longer be concealed behind candlelight or forced smiles. His wife had left, and with her went the illusion of stability, of happiness. Emily checked into a small hotel on the other side of town. The room was simple, just a bed, a desk, a window overlooking the city. She sat on the edge of the mattress, letting the silence settle around her. For the first time in years, she felt the tightness in her chest begin to loosen. She breathed in deeply, savoring the unfamiliar feeling of peace. She spent the morning walking through the city, her steps light, unburdened. The streets were alive with people going about their lives, oblivious to her story. She watched children chasing pigeons in a park, an elderly couple holding hands as they crossed the street, a young woman laughing into her phone. Ordinary moments, each one a reminder that life continued, that healing was possible. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker on one by one. She thought about the years she had spent trying to hold together a marriage that had already fallen apart, about the nights she had lain awake, hoping for a sign that things would change, about the exhaustion of pretending, of swallowing her hurt so others wouldn't see it. She realized then that sometimes love isn't enough, that forgiveness can only go so far when trust has been broken beyond repair. She thought about the chicken dish, about how something so ordinary a meal, a smell, could carry so much meaning, how the simplest things could reveal the deepest wounds. As the days passed, Emily began to rebuild. She called her friends, people she had drifted from in the chaos of her marriage. She walked by the lake, letting the wind tangle her hair, feeling the sun on her face. She cried sometimes, alone in her hotel room, mourning the life she had lost. But she also laughed, real, unguarded laughter, when she remembered who she used to be, before betrayal changed everything. Ryan, meanwhile, was left to confront the emptiness of the apartment. The silence became a mirror, reflecting back all the choices he had made. He replayed the night in his mind, wondering if things might have been different, if he had only chosen honesty over secrets. But some things, once broken, can never be made whole again. And in the end, it wasn't the dinner or the promotion or even the betrayal itself that ended their marriage. It was the quiet decision made in a darkened room to choose freedom over fear, truth over pretense. Emily learned that leaving isn't always an act of weakness. Sometimes it's the bravest thing you can do. To walk away from a life that no longer fits, to let go of a love that has become a shadow, takes courage and strength. She discovered that peace doesn't come from holding on to what's familiar, but from honoring your own worth, even when it means starting over. The city embraced her with its endless possibilities. Each day, she grew a little stronger, a little more certain that she had made the right choice. She found joy in small things, a warm cup of coffee, a smile from a stranger, the satisfaction of a day well spent. She wrote in her journal, pouring out her fears and hopes, giving herself permission to dream again. And as she rebuilt her life, Emily became a testament to resilience, to the power of choosing yourself, even when it hurts. to the wisdom of knowing when to stay and when to walk away. Sometimes, the things that look like love are only shadows covering betrayal. Trust, once broken, can't be seasoned back into a marriage. Walking away, though painful, is often the first real step toward freedom. If this story moved you, take a moment to share your thoughts. Have you ever faced a moment where you had to choose between holding on and letting go? What did you learn about yourself in the process? Leave a comment below, and let's reflect together on the strength it takes to choose a new beginning.